It is my absolute delight to welcome the President of the Australian Olympic Committee, Mr. John Coates, to the stage.
My absolute delight to join you.
Now, John, you've come back to earth yet?
They certainly have. We had a wonderful time in London, wonderful games, and I wasn't there for the Paralympic Games, but they were equally as successful, and we're back to earth and doing what we do best, and that's have committee meetings. You heard of the Athletes Commission met this morning, and I was thrilled that Kim Crowe was elected as our new Athletes President. So.
Yeah, great stuff from Kim, and we'll be speaking to her in just a few moments. But John, tell me, let's go back to the beginning of the Games. There was such hype about the Australian team going over. Were you a little bit nervous in those first few days when there was just the one gold? It
was exactly, well, the number of golds was less than we'd benchmarked. The number of medals was the same. And Alicia certainly made sure we got away on the first night. Well done. But yeah, we didn't quite get the early medals in swimming, but it's always the case that at the end of week one, the sailors kick in, the rowers finals come, and the cycling, and it was very similar to the situation in Beijing.
No, it certainly was hugely successful. I just want to know whether you spoke to Senator Lundy about the wisdom or otherwise of making a bet with her GB counterpart?
Well, she had her little bet, I had my bet, with an arrogant little shit called Lord Colin Moynihan, who's my equivalent. And he was a former Minister for Sport in the Thatcher government, a silver medalist, Coxing the 8th, so I've known him for a long time, in 1980. And I fell into a bet which was a bottle of champagne French for every different medal and a Magnum for every different gold. So I owe him at the moment 20 Magnums and 30 bottles of French champagne. And so I'm planning, I've had a talk to Lindsay Fox. He's going to get me a semi-trailer. We're going to load it up. And this little guy lives out at a place called Frant. We're going to be at the front gate. We may drive through it. And we'll deliver it in one of Lindsay's, it doesn't have Lynn Fox over there, but we'll find something, and make the guy unpack it himself. And then I'm going there with a few friends around Henley time next year, and we'll do our best to drink it.
That sounds like a fair deal. And if you're buying wholesale, then we'll all be around if you've got a few to share. Could you just carry the bet over to Brazil?
No, I think they're still going to linger.
Fair enough. Now, that was London are we up to 10 games?
Yeah, something like that. But I wasn't in the team this time. So Nick Green was the chef de mission, and so I had the games from a different perspective.
And that perspective was, of course, as president, and you've been, well, to so many different ones. What about London was special for you?
I think the formula, the volunteers, the public were amazing. They came out to all of the events, Hyde Park, the Mall, they were in the pubs, they were all of those sorts of things that we sort of had in Sydney, but they've got a bigger city. And the security was not a problem. The security forces were so friendly, the army in particular. And it was a stunningly successful game. So well organised, and transport worked, and there was no security problems, as I said.
Now, we spoke about the success of the Australian team from a medal perspective, and for me it's always about, I know that I'll never be an Olympian or a Paralympian, so for me it's about the awe of watching elite athletes compete, but I know to a lot of people, and certainly in the media, how many medals and so on and so forth seem to be a very big focus. Is that something that you're focused on over there? Is that what you see as a rate of return for investment?
Yes, we do benchmark each year, and we believe the sports should be held to account for the government money they receive. We don't, as an Olympic Committee, the Australian Olympic Committee doesn't receive funding from the government. We do it from a foundation and from the commercial rights that we sell. But certainly with the large amount of money that the government's funding sport, and that's federal and state government, the institutes, they're entitled to a return, and so I do watch that. Interestingly, we benchmark based on the preceding year. We benchmark each year based on the best equivalent to an Olympic medal, and there's an amazing correlation in the number of medals won at Olympic Games to our benchmarking. So in Sydney in 1998, we won 60 medals in 1999 in World Championships, and then in the Sydney Games we won, so 60, 58. Athens was 50 the year before, 50 at the Games. Beijing was 46, 44 at the Games. These Games, the benchmark figure was 35, and it was 35 exactly. They're not always the same sports, obviously not the same athletes. Where there was not the same correlation was in the gold medals. We had a very good year in 2011. We won 15 gold medals. This year's 7, and we had all those silver medals. But so we did come out of the Games 7th, and in overall medals, 3 more we would have been 6th, 10 more we weren't going to get that. We would have been 5th. Gold medals, we were 10th. Some other countries slipped in there, and so. But the challenge will be again to be top 5 in Rio. We see no reason to step back from that, and we'll just work with the sports to make sure that they spend their money a bit more wisely.
And just tell me how you do that. What did you learn from London that you can take forward as in your role as president for Rio? Can you change things? I mean, the Olympics don't really change that much, do they?
There'll be different games in Rio. The Brits won't be on home soil, and it won't be as easy.
There's more countries in the Olympics, you know that, don't you?
Yeah, it's 204 or something, but our principal competition is against Britain, Germany, France, and now you can throw in Italy and Japan. And the funding that the Brits got was the same as Germany and France. They spent it better, and but they don't. British or those countries don't seem to do as well out of Europe as they do in Europe. We haven't spent much time in Rio, in Brazil. Very few of our sports have been there. Just the girls with legs your height, length, and so the volleyballers have been there, but not too many of our other sports. So we've got to get over there. The sailors have to be there and find out where they're going to be based. It'll be difficult for transporting horses, boats, and sailing and canoes and those sorts of things. But I think it'll bring it back a bit to a more level playing field with those 3 countries. But just going to be smarter. I think the sailors, and their president is here tonight. The sailors have certainly set the standard, and it's not necessarily how much, but how well you spend the money and how professional you are.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that because we'll be speaking, of course, to not just Kim but Murray as well in just a moment, and to Malcolm Page, who was on the water at Weymouth. Out of Olympic season, if you like, in the wider world, perhaps not such high-profile sports, but during the Olympics, so very, very successful. Does that enhance their chance for more of that pot coming their way?
Well, I think there's a limit to the funding that the government will give. There may be a reallocation, sure, where it's justified, but there's also a justification to look again at sports like badminton with our increased Asian population and try and encourage them. Taekwondo got 2 4th places. Modern pentathlon, little girl Chloe Esposito came 7th, and there's only a handful of athletes in that sport here. As well as funding the sports, I think we have to identify young talent in sports where they mightn't be receiving much money, and see what we can do for individual athletes as well.
And of course, you've got new sport coming in because you'll have rugby sevens.
Rugby
starting.
Sevens and golf. We don't need to worry about funding the golfers, but they will. But golf is the world's best players. There'll be 4-round stroke play for men and women, 64 athletes in both, and they have agreed that there'll be no competitions up against the Olympic Games, and we'll see the best players there. I know the Australians, and Carrie Webb's going to keep going, she's told me, and I think that'll be very hard fought to get one of those places. And then, yes, the rugby sevens for men and women, I think will be a real highlight of the Rio Games.
So all that to look forward to. Just looking back at London, John, did you have a highlight?
Well, the highlight for me is usually the rowing, so I gave Kim Crowe a hug when she won her bronze medal, and then there was the men's 4, their silver medal. But look, it would be wrong for me to differentiate amongst the 7 gold medals, and Sally Pearson, Anna Mears, the girls 4x100, the men's K4, what a sensational effort that was. And then we've got the sailing boats. So we don't try and distinguish between our which is the best gold medal, which is the most unique. We leave that to the Sporting Hall of Fame and other groups like that, and that's where I'd leave it. So all gold medals are really something very special, and those athletes were something very special, and I'm looking forward to hearing from them tonight.
Well, we're about to hear from them right now. John Coates, thank you very, very much for your time.
Thanks, Stephanie.